Heartstopper is a Netflix series based on the webtoon of the same name and created by Oseman. Heartstopper follows Charlie, a high-strung, openly gay overthinker, and Nick, a cheerful, soft-hearted rugby player. They meet at a British all-boys grammar school and form a strong friendship, one-sided crush, and an eventual romantic relationship. The comic was started on the 1st of September 2016 and is still ongoing. For this video, I'm going to be focusing on the Netflix series that came out on Friday, April 22nd, 2022. I could make a whole additional video about the comic, and maybe I will, but for now, I'm just going to be talking about the Netflix series. I also just want to say, because I always forget to mention, spoilers ahead. If you're worried about the plot and secrets, yeah, I would click off. I'm terrible at not spoiling things. So let's get into what the series is about. Again, I'm really only covering the Netflix series with a small section for what's different between the series and the comic and random opinions that I have. The series starts with Charlie, who is a worried, somewhat frazzled teenager beginning his year 10 at school. He's secretly been meeting up with another student named Ben, but Ben both pretends he doesn't know Charlie when he passes him in the hallway and grossly, dismissively doesn't care about any of Charlie's feelings at all. When Charlie finds out that Ben has a girlfriend, he decides enough is enough and tries to break things off. This does not go well. At the same time, Charlie is now sitting next to Nick Nelson, who is both a year ahead of Charlie in school and incredibly endearing in everything he does. Sort of like the Labrador in human form type guy, the perfect type for Charlie to fall for. The only caveat being that Nick seems to be the straightest boy that Charlie or any of his friends have ever met. When Ben corners Charlie in order to try and manipulate him back into their secret meetups, Charlie is saved by Nick, furthering his hopeless crush on the upperclassmen. Over the course of the series, Nick and Charlie's relationship develops, with Charlie introducing Nick to his small group of friends, and Nick convincing Charlie to try out for rugby, the quintessential jock sport of their school. Nick also begins to realize that his friend group isn't really the crowd that he wants to associate with, and questions his sexuality as he gains feelings for Charlie. This is brought to a head when the two share a private kiss at a party, followed pretty quickly by Nick telling off his friends for their homophobia. The next day, Nick and Charlie talk about their feelings and begin their own secret romance, while Nick explores how he wants to identify. Tonally, their secret is truly romantic and has a nice contrast to what we see between Charlie and Ben's previous relationship. The remainder of the series is the two of them as the A-plot, discovering their feelings, dealing with further bullying, and becoming more confident and comfortable in their bond with one another. The B-plot more or less focuses on the remainder of the friend group, with the series taking time to establish and develop characters and who they are in relation to each other. I thought the series did a nice job of switching back and forth from the main plot of Nick and Charlie while allowing a good amount of development and depth for their friends. Who are the primary characters of Heartstopper? Let's break them down. Charlie is the first character we're introduced to and one of the two main characters. Charlie is a character who the previous year had been ousted as gay and who dealt with bullying because of it. When the show starts, he is in a not healthy relationship with Ben, moving into his year 10 of school and is trying his best to get along in the day-to-day life at Truman. He also has supportive faculty, namely Mr. Ajayi, who is like a art teacher and who lets Charlie hide in his classroom while supporting his less than stellar high school experiences. And the other is Coach Singh, a female coach at their school that both boys confide in periodically in the series. Charlie's family is also shown to be supportive of him, mainly his dad and older sister Tori. Tori particularly is shown to both reach out to Charlie when he's at a very low point in the series and to have more trivial conversations like what kind of boys Charlie is interested in or gossip about if she thinks Nick is straight or not. We haven't seen too much of Charlie's mom or younger brother in the series yet, but they are prevalent enough characters in the comic that I would be surprised if they don't get more development in the show. Nick is a year 11 rugby player at Truman. When the show begins, he is assigned to sit next to Charlie in form class and befriends him from there. Nick is jockey, outgoing, popular, and loosely described as the straightest man Charlie or any of his friends have ever known. Over the series, Nick realizes realizes he has feelings for Charlie, learns that he identifies with bisexuality, and learns more about Charlie's friend group, distancing himself from his own previous friends. He has a supportive mom, and when he finally does come out to her, she is shown to accept his identity wholeheartedly. Side note, after reading the comic, I was excited to see how it played out in live action. Nick's mom is one of my favorites from the webtoon. Isaac is a character created uniquely for the Netflix series. He takes the place of Aled, a character from the Heartstopper comic. That character takes a much bigger role in another one of Alice Oseman's books called Radio Silence. Oseman explained in an interview with Hello that she wanted a character that she could mold more in the series and kind of explore and do something unique with, so she decided it was better to just pick a new character. So that's who Isaac is. He is quiet, often seen reading and not really saying much, but generally supportive and helpful of his friend group as a whole.
Isaac, I've already warned you about encouraging Charlie's crushes on straight boys.
But I want to believe in romance.
Another character created uniquely for the series is Imogen, a student at the Higgs Girls' School who has feelings for Nick. The two had been friends for a long time, and at a party she acts and tells Nick how she feels. Later on, she asks Nick out formally on a date. Nick says yes, but doesn't really mean to, and eventually has to confide in her that he isn't interested in that kind of relationship, at least not with her, and she accepts that they work better as friends. I'm personally hoping that she generally stays his friend in the series and isn't an issue later, but since she's unique to the Netflix show, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to introduce Tara and Darcy kind of together, since they have a mini arc that I think works best to explain them both together. So Tara and Darcy are two girls that make an effort to befriend Elle when she first transfers to Higgs from Truman, where she had previously been in the friend group with Charlie, Isaac, and Tao. Tara is shown to be intelligent, friendly, and somewhat outgoing. Darcy is shown to be friendly and outgoing, but is more loud and brash in how she does it, and more lax in coursework than Tara. The show first establishes them as friends, and then as secretly going out, and then has both of them kind of come out as a couple. Tara's social media post establishes her publicly as a lesbian, and the remainder of the series has her dealing with the changes in her life associated with coming out. Darcy is shown to be already out, comfortable, and acting as a rock in Tara's transition.
Want me to throw cheese at them? Got leftover cheese from lunch.
No. It's not like they're actually saying it to my face.
Why do you have leftover cheese? Always pays to be prepared with anti-homophobia cheese.
Tara and Nick also kissed when they were kids, and because of this, the show kind of plays with the idea of them coupling up via Nick's friends, although this is pretty quickly brushed off. Elle and Tao are shown to be mutual friends of Charlie's, who have become best friends in their own right. Although inseparable, Elle's recent transfer to the all-girls school is hard for Tao, with him being worried about Elle and continuously buying her juice at lunch even though she's not going to show up. Both Elle and Tao have feelings for each other, but seem to have a fear in exploring romance since they don't want to jeopardize their friendship. Elle is shown to be level-headed, somewhat shy, and loyal to her friends. Tao is boisterous, passionate about protecting his friends, and cemented in his beliefs. This includes convincing himself that Nick is only hanging out with Charlie to make fun of them, since Tao is the last person to learn about Charlie and Nick's romantic relationship in their entire friend group. This leads to a conflict between Tao and Charlie, since Tao feels betrayed that he didn't actually know about the relationship and that he heard it from Elle, not Charlie. The biggest difference that I saw in the series compared to the webtoon was the replacement of the webtoon's trip to Paris with a sports day festival, or like a sports day event, shared between the two schools. I'm not saying they'll never do the Paris trip, since they obviously could do that in future seasons, but the sports day did kind of fill what the point and purpose of the Paris trip was, with the exclusion of introducing Nick's dad. Additionally, while the show doesn't rely heavily on Charlie's mom and younger brother, we are introduced to Imogen and Isaac, two completely new characters. Just enough of the webtoon was changed for the series to keep it interesting, at least I think, without it being a completely new thing altogether. I was surprised how many scenes in Heartstopper felt like they were directly pulled from the webtoon. Like when Nick and Charlie are nervously texting each other, it had the same kind of vibe that the pages or the illustrations did. The actors of the show did a sensational job in bringing the characters to life, and it was fun just to like see them interact and follow the story along. There's a coziness in this story that's hard to describe, but prevalent in some of its saddest moments. Speaking of, I feel the need to mention that the story and the webtoon both deal with a number of issues that may not be suitable for everyone or like all readers. Some triggers for the series include homophobia, transphobia, and especially like later in the webtoon, self-harm and eating disorders. I really feel like the webtoon at least does a really good job at handling these topics, and it'll be interesting to see how the show adapts them for the Netflix series, particularly like Charlie's eating disorder being connected to his OCD. So it'll be, and nothing's perfect, like that's obviously, but it'll be interesting to see how the show takes such heavy topics and makes them into like a live action series. If we do get Heartstopper season 2 or 3 or however long the show goes on for, I'm hoping to see like more family of the characters. I would be surprised if next season we didn't also get Nick's family's trip to, I don't remember where they go. It's like Italy or something in the webtoon. We're also then introduced to his brother, who is like something else, and I think would add potentially a lot of drama to the series. Similarly, Mr. Ajayi has a boyfriend in the webtoon that's also a teacher, but he's like not in the show yet, especially like the fandom of the webtoon. Those two are such popular characters, or like popular relationship. There's a lot of good stuff that they could do with future seasons, especially exploring characters and like perspectives that we don't see in the webtoon, because the webtoon is so much more based on Nick and Charlie, and I feel like the show would have opportunities to tell broader stories and kind of dip its toes into other characters' lives in a way that the comic just like isn't able to, if that makes sense. Just for some final thoughts on Heartstopper, I didn't write a script for this bit. Anyway, I'm really digging the show and I'm excited to see where it goes. It's a kind of really unique in the way that I don't know the last time that I watched something with a similar vibe, especially one that I'm so looking forward to additional seasons of. So I don't know. If you haven't watched Heartstopper, I find that hard to believe because I feel like everyone has watched it now because I've taken so long to record this. I got a cold or allergies or something, so my voice got really messed up in the middle of the week, and so I've just been like waiting for it to sound normal, and now I don't care anymore. So if bits of this audio just sound like I'm dying, that's why. But my audio is never very good, so whatever, it's fine. See you in like half a year when I decide to record again. Thanks for watching.